Hello everybody, and welcome to our video on checkmate patterns. In this video here today, we're going to take a look at what is probably the single most important checkmate pattern, and that is the king and queen versus the opponent's lone king. This is such a common and important pattern due to the way our games often finish. Usually at the end of the game, it comes down to the kings and a few pawns, and if we get that pawn to the other side of the board, we'll have a queen, and we need to know how can we use that queen in order to finish off our opponent. What can we do in order to drive the nail into the coffin and call it a day? Now, our starting position here, we see two kings and the queen on the board. I'm going to give you a very simple technique that you can use to finish off your opponent and make very quick little moves in order to push him to the edge. Now, what we want to do first is know what our goal is. For starters, it's going to be incredibly difficult to checkmate a king that's in the center of the board. He has all the squares around him that he can go to, and it's not a good place to try to deliver checkmate. We're not going to be able to do it with the king and the queen in the middle. So we need to find some way to move that black king to the edge of the board. What edge should we start trying to work toward? Well, our queen's already on d2, so we can imagine it cutting off a line up the d file and across the second rank. So if we can get black's king to move toward the edge, either toward the h file over here, or toward the 8th rank over here, then we'll be able to deliver checkmate. We want to push him to one of those edges. How do we do that? The simplest way to do this, to achieve this goal, is to keep what I like to call the knight square away from the king. What do I mean by that? Well, let's look at where the queen and king are right now. If this queen were a knight instead, it would be attacking the king. It would be giving check. So it's a knight square away from the king. So one move we can do here is if we play our queen to c2, we remain a knight square away from the king, and now our queen is cutting off the 3rd rank. So the king is not going to be able to move forward to the 3rd rank. So what can this king do here? Well, let's say that he plays king to f4. How can we continue to push him either toward the h file or back toward the 8th rank? Well, let's stay one knight square away. Queen to d3. Once again, that L-shaped pattern from the king. And now we've cut off one more rank. We've cut the d file off. We're slowly squeezing him toward the edge. Well, black wants to stay in the center, so he plays king to d5. How can we stay a knight square away and still push him back? Now, queen to c4. Now we've cut off the 4th rank. Black can no longer come forward. Okay, let's say he keeps going up this way now to d6. Well, we're one knight square away right now. How can we get to another knight square? Queen to b5. That L-shaped pattern away, and now the 5th rank is cut off from the opponent's king. If he comes back toward the center, we cut it off again. As he runs along, keep that knight square away, keep cutting it off. Now the whole 5th, and the d file is cut off. Black squares are getting more and more limited. He's slowly getting squeezed over to the edge here. Say he plays king to e7. Where are we going to go? Queen to c6, that's right. The king's holding on for dear life. He doesn't want to go to the edge because he knows that if he ends up on the edge, it's going to be mate very soon. So we keep on getting closer and closer, and now suddenly look where we are. The white queen is attacking all of these squares. It's cutting off the e file, it's cutting off the 6th rank, and also the f7 square. So the black king is going to have to play to an edge. Which one is he going to go to? He could come to h8, he could come to h7, or he could come to f8. Let's go ahead and put the king in the corner here, h8. Now so far, this whole time, we've been talking about the pattern of staying a knight square away. Well, once the king gets to the edge of the board, we're going to change that. So our goal has been stay a knight square away to drive the king to the edge. Why do we not want to do that now? What would happen if we moved a knight square away with the king in the corner? If we played queen f7 or queen to g6? Go ahead and give this a think real quick. If you see the trap here, what happens if queen f7? Oh no, queen to f7, where can black's king go? The queen's attacking all of these squares, but the king is not in check. I'm sorry, boys and girls, but this is stalemate. So we do not want to play the knight square when the king gets to the edge. That will push him to there, but the second the king gets to the edge, we have to do something different, or else we're going to stalemate, and that's going to be a draw. So the knight square to get to the edge, and once the king goes to the edge or to the corner here, my suggestion is to play the queen to the square that's the furthest away from the king while keeping him on the edge. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, we have a couple options here. We can either choose to block off the G file so that the king can't move there and he's trapped on the H, or we can choose to block off the B file so that the king is trapped on the 8th rank. The safest two ways to do that would be to place our queen either on D7 or on G4. This ensures that the black king can still move, there will not be a stalemate, and he's going to now be trapped on the edge of the board where we can prepare the next step to give checkmate. So let's go ahead and play queen to D7. Our queen is now on the 7th rank. The black king is stuck here on the 8th. All he can ever do is go back and forth between these three squares because we also have control of E8. So the black king has to play king G8. Now, one of the things we mentioned earlier is that the queen cannot deliver checkmate by herself. So once we have the black king on the edge of the board, our second step in our plan has to be to activate our king. So now we're going to start marching our king up the board until eventually he can help in the attack. So the next move is going to be king to f3. Say black plays here. King to g4, king f3 works just, or king f4 rather, works just as well. He comes back and we're marching all the way up till our king is ready to support in the attack. Once we now have our king where he is close enough to hit the black king, we have a few different ways that we can give checkmate. Go ahead and take a look at them, see if you can find them. The simplest way, and what I suggest, is simply to play our queen directly in front of the opponent's king. Our king now protects our own queen. He can't take us. We're safe in that way. And the queen attacks all the squares around the king here, including the king as well. This is going to be checkmate. The nice things about attacking the queen this way is that even if our kings aren't exactly opposite each other, so if they're one square off, we can still use this. Our king still defends the queen, and we still have checkmate. That's our checkmate pattern. That's how we finish the game off using our king and our queen. We're going to use that knight square technique to get the opposing king to the edge of the board. And then once the opponent's king gets to the edge of the board, remember that key moment, we want to lock him away by keeping our queen as far away as possible. Make sure that the black king does not get stuck in the corner. We do not want stalemate to occur. Cut him off from getting back forward. March our own king up the board in order to help in the finishing blow, and then deliver checkmate with the queen. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments below, and I hope that you will be finishing off your games with more victories to come in the near future.